Hey guys, how are you? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I have yet another movie review, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This movie is a thriller from the USA, English language, released in the year 2015, directed by Karen Kasama, and this movie is called The Invitation. So The Invitation is about this man. He hasn't seen his friends in 2 years because of a tragic event that took place that has really scarred him for life. He wants to move on with his new girlfriend and go on to a bigger and better life, but he is brought back to those days when he gets an invitation from two of his friends. Now these two friends who happen to be husband and wife, they are actually hosting a dinner where their old friends are going to come together, they're going to reminisce about the old times and they're going to catch up. So this guy's very reluctant to do this, but he ends up doing it anyway. He arrives at the house very awkwardly and he starts to become very uncomfortable. But that discomfort soon turns to paranoia when he gets an inkling in the back of his mind that something is not right, that maybe the duo that are hosting this event are hosting it with sinister intentions, and that it's not a reunion, but it's something far more scary. And so he's trying to determine whether or not it's just a figment of his imagination. His friends are telling him, look, just calm down, you're getting worked up, you're in a safe zone. And so no matter how much he tries to calm himself down, he always believes he's not in a safe zone, and in fact there is a truth to this that is very terrifying. So whether or not that is a figment of his imagination or in fact reality is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The Invitation. I had a lot of expectation coming into this film. Now this is a movie that does have a lot of hype surrounding it, and at the end of the film I will say that I'm not really, I didn't really believe the hype, and I don't think the hype is warranted, but it still was a very good movie, and it was a very good movie for the simple fact that it is a throwback to great films of yesteryear. Now what I mean by that is what I meant with another film I just reviewed a few months ago called The Ones Below. Now The Ones Below in The Invitation have a strong sense of Roman Polanski about them, in that you don't know who to root for, you don't know where the danger is coming from, because there is a strong level of reality and a figment of imagination. And because you don't know whether or not this main character is going insane or in fact he is in danger, it gives you a strong level of discomfort. It's a very awkward feeling that the film gives you. It's a very suspenseful experience, because there's a lot of ambiguity to the film, and that's what made The Ones Below so good. And ultimately The Ones Below and The Invitation do suffer a very similar problem, but I will say that both films possess that Roman Polanski-esque type of feel. It's the type of feeling that you don't get in a lot of films these days. A lot of films these days is all about jump scares every 2 seconds. It's all about nudity, graphic sex, graphic violence, and it's all about visuals. It's not about the seeping atmosphere. I think atmosphere is a forgotten art because it's a very difficult art. You know, the art of today's horror is very simple. It's very lazy, and you don't really get that sense of anticipation as far as psychology is concerned. But I think The Invitation really is a good throwback to those old-fashioned films, such as Rosemary's Baby, where you don't know if this woman is onto something or if in fact it's all in her mind. So the vulnerability is always there. Wherever this main character goes, you feel that they could be a threat. He could be in grave danger, or he might not be. And because you get no level of comfort, you don't know who to root for, it does give you that sense of no control. And a lot of viewers out there want control. It's because if you have control, you can determine what is happening. You can control the situation. But when directors like this, like Karen Kasama, comes along, she's not giving you any control. And so that's the true scary nature of the film, is that you don't know where it's going to take you. So with no level of control, you're going along and you feel that there is a danger around every single position. And so ambiguity, that is what it does. And I really like films that really pay tribute to films of yesteryear. And as I said, it's definitely a forgotten art. So the creepy atmosphere is down to its subtlety. It never tries anything extravagant. It always stays confined to its limitations. It doesn't try to hit you with a massive twist or anything like that. It is very simple storytelling, but it's storytelling that is done with a strong precision. And it's a storytelling that actually feels like every scene is being very well thought of, and it's been very well crafted, and it just gives you that sense that yes, this guy is going through a mental torment. You can sense that this guy is torn up by his past, and I thought his past was told very well in very brief flashbacks, and you felt okay, these flashbacks were very necessary because it gives you a little bit of complexity to this main character, and that's what further engulfs you in the ambiguity, is that you don't know if this guy's past is really haunting him that much. And if this past wasn't revealed, then I don't think you would get the sense of his mental disorientation. I just think that the side plot works very well because it doesn't take much time at all, but it does give you that complexity to a character without really trying anything, without bogging itself down. So the fluency of this film is very good. The continuity runs at a very brisk pace, and it never really gets boring. I thought the overall family dynamics within these friends was very good. I believe their relationships. I thought the script was very good, very realistic, and once again very subtle at the same time. And so this main character, his body body language. You felt that he was torn down. You could feel that, okay, maybe he's losing his mind, but then there's always those little clues to suggest that he's onto something. And those little clues, although they are very tiny sort of elements to the film, they combine to make something so much bigger. And that's what I mean by precision, is that these little tiny clues, they might seem very basic, but when they ultimately culminate into something much bigger at the end, you feel that it was all worth it, and that slow progression of his mental state was starting to go to very terrifying heights. And so I really love the way that this director really took the time and effort to craft something that is a movie that you don't see you don't really see a lot these days. So I thought the supporting cast were great. The friends were very creepy, but the creepiness of these friends, you weren't quite sure if it was a figment or an exaggeration of his mental state, or in fact he was actually set in a very vulnerable state. So it does give you just a whirlwind of emotion, and it actually feels like it grips you. I wouldn't say it's an overly scary film, although right at the end, the very last scene of this film was brilliant. I thought that was very scary, but I will say that the majority of this film is just a very awkward tenseness to it, that it really captures me, it really intrigues you, and you go along on the ride, and you're actually really glad that you took the time and effort to see this film. So I was very impressed by this movie. I thought that everyone does a great job. The score is in there. The score slowly builds up to contribute to the creepiness that the film has. And so, yeah, the first 3/4 of this movie were absolutely brilliant. But the unfortunate part to this film was also the unfortunate part to the movie The Ones Below, in that it loses its ambiguity. The gimmick of this whole film is the ambiguity, is the uncertainty, the vulnerability. What is he thinking? Is he in danger? Is he not in danger? But when you actually know what's going on, because the ambiguity is lost, it feels like a generic film. So I love that. As I said, I love the very last scene, but leading up to that last scene in the last quarter of the film, I thought to myself, this is generic. It's kind of defeated the purpose of having that ambiguity there. And so that was my exact problem with The Ones Below, in that if it keeps the ambiguity, it leaves it up to your interpretation, it feels like a complete film. Whereas this movie, it felt like the last quarter kind of contradicted what the first, say, 3/4 had. And so I didn't really like the way it finished. It did go down a slightly generic path, but right at the end, it saves it once again with a truly scary sort of moment. And if you see the film, you'll know what I mean. It doesn't try to be scary, but it is very, very haunting. And I really like the way the very last scene took place and then it finishes. So it's just a little bit leading up to that very last scene that I thought was a little bit jerky, as is the case with The Ones Below. But if you are a fan of Roman Polanski, if you're a fan of Alfred Hitchcock and the old-fashioned psychological thrillers, then The Invitation is definitely for you. It's a very well-crafted film, and as a result of that, I'm going to give The Invitation 4 stars. Go out there and see it. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching movies, and I'll see you later.